How did one stranger's words turn into papers in my hands at my office lobby? I thought my husband would yell, beg, or forgive. Instead, he stayed calm, went quiet, and ended my marriage in public. My name is Ligeia Rowland, but almost everyone called me Leah. I was 33, and I worked as an event coordinator at a marketing firm. People said I was good at fixing problems fast. I liked that. I liked being the person who could make a room change mood with one call, one message, one plan. At home, Evan did not treat me like that. He treated life like a schedule. He treated love like a task list. I told myself that I carried the marriage on my back and he only carried rules. That Friday started like many others, with my phone buzzing before I even finished my coffee. A client wanted a last-minute change for a weekend launch. My boss wanted me to save it again. I said I could handle it. Evan stood near the sink and asked if I would be home for dinner. I said I did not know, because work was heavy. He looked at my face like he was trying to read it, and that made me feel annoyed. He asked if we could do something simple as a family, like a movie night after Mila went to bed. I said I was tired of simple things. I said I needed something that felt like life, not a quiet routine. Evan did not raise his voice. He asked why everything sounded like an attack. I told him he always made himself the victim. I said he loved acting calm because it made me look crazy if I got upset. He said he was not calling me crazy. He said he just wanted to understand. I told him understanding was not the same as changing. Then I pointed at the fridge where our magnets held school notes and grocery lists, and I said our life looked like a boring office wall. He asked what I meant. I said it meant I was still young, and I did not want to rot. I watched him swallow his words. He turned to rinse his mug and set it on the counter, but he placed it far from mine. 2 mugs, 2 islands. I noticed it, and I told myself it was his choice. I did not say it out loud, because I knew it sounded childish. He asked if I wanted him to pick Mila up from after school. I said yes, like I was granting him a favor. He nodded and looked down at his phone. His screen lit for a second, and I saw a calendar reminder. It said, meeting, personal, with a time that looked too exact to be random. I pretended I did not see it. Evan kept his phone angled away. He said he had a long day too. I said softly that he always said that, and it was always about him. He asked if I could stop making everything a contest. I said it was not a contest, it was a pattern. At work, I did what I always did. I fixed the client problem. I sent 3 emails. I moved a vendor time. I saved the plan. People thanked me and joked that I was a magician. I smiled and felt warm in my chest. That feeling did not exist at home. At lunch, Nina Talbot leaned on my desk and asked if I was going out tonight. Nina was my friend from years ago, and she lived like every night could be a story. I said I was not sure. She said I needed to breathe. She said I was married to a spreadsheet. I laughed because it matched what I already told myself. Later, Marcus Hale from sales stopped by and asked if Evan was still so strict. I asked what he meant. He said Evan seemed like the kind of man who checked receipts and timed conversations. I felt a sharp pleasure at hearing someone else say it first. I said Evan liked order. I said Evan could not relax. Marcus said it sounded exhausting. I shrugged and said I loved my husband, but love was not enough when a person starved your spirit. I did not say the word starved by accident. I liked how dramatic it sounded. When the workday ended, I did not go home. I texted Evan that the client change turned into an emergency and I would be late. He replied fast and asked if I was okay. I said yes. He asked if he should keep dinner warm. I said no, because I might eat out with the team. That was a lie, but it was an easy one, and easy lies feel like small wins. Nina picked me up near the office. In the car, she asked if Evan was giving me another lecture. I said he was always disappointed in me. I said he acted like I was a teenager, and he was my parent. Nina said I should remind him who I was. She said a man did not own a woman's time. I agreed. I agreed too quickly, because it felt good to be agreed with. At home, Mila was already asleep when we drove past our street. I did not feel guilt. I told myself Mila was safe, and safe was enough. Evan could handle one night. Evan handled everything, right? That was what I told myself. When Nina parked near the club, I checked my phone. Evan had sent one more message, asking when I might come home. I did not answer. I told myself silence was a boundary. I told myself I was teaching him not to cling. The club was loud, even from outside. A line of people waited under red lights. The bouncer nodded at Nina and let us in quickly. Inside, music pushed against my ribs. It made thinking harder, and I liked that. I liked not thinking. I liked not being a wife for a few hours. Nina found our friends near the bar. Someone put a drink in my hand. I did not ask what it was. I said cheers and smiled like a woman who deserved more. Rafael Morales found us before I even looked for him. Everyone called him Rafe. He worked with the club sometimes, and he always seemed like he owned the space. He leaned close to speak in my ear because the music was loud. He asked if I was still trapped at home. I laughed and said I was not trapped, I was just tired. He said tired people needed fun. I said fun was not a crime. He said he liked my attitude. I liked that he said it like I was rare. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself a little attention was normal. Evan gave me no attention. Evan gave me questions and quiet looks. Rafe gave me easy words. When he touched my elbow to guide me through the crowd, I did not pull away. Nina watched and grinned like she was proud of me. She asked if I finally remembered I was attractive. I said I never forgot. I said I just forgot who noticed. I danced. I laughed. I posted a short clip of the lights and the music, not my face. I wanted to look mysterious, not guilty. Rafe asked if I wanted air. I said yes, because it sounded reasonable. We went through a side door toward the back. The alley was cooler and smelled like old rain and cigarettes. The sound from inside became softer, like a heartbeat behind a wall. Rafe stood close and asked if my husband was still acting perfect. I said Evan acted perfect so he could judge me. Rafe asked if Evan ever made me feel chosen. I said Evan chose safety, not me. Rafe said I deserved to be chosen. I let that sentence enter my body like medicine. I did not stop him when he held my waist. I did not stop myself when I leaned in. I told myself it was only a moment. I told myself a moment could not destroy years. Then I heard a small scrape, like a shoe on gravel. I pulled my head back and looked down the alley. Near the end, by the streetlight, someone stood still. It was a man I did not know. He did not look drunk. He looked awake. His phone screen was bright in his hand, tilted like he was checking something or maybe recording. I could not tell. Our eyes met for a second. Rafe asked what was wrong. I said nothing, but my voice sounded thin. The stranger turned without rushing. He walked away like he had time. His phone stayed lit as he moved, a small square of light that did not blink. I watched him until he disappeared at the corner, and my stomach tightened like it finally understood what my mouth kept refusing. The next morning, I woke up with a dry mouth and a heavy head. I told myself it was because of loud music and bad air, not because of guilt. Evan was already awake. I heard a soft hum from the kitchen, like the printer starting up, then stopping. When I walked in, he stood near the counter with his phone in his hand. He asked if I got home safe. I said yes and acted surprised that he was up so early. He asked what time I came in. I said it was late and I was tired, and work people kept me longer than planned. He did not argue. He only nodded once and set his phone face down. I saw his mug on the far side of the counter again. Mine was near the sink. 2 mugs, 2 sides. I told myself it was a childish statement from him, like he was punishing me. I said he was being cold. He asked what I meant. I said he was acting like I was a stranger. He said he was just giving me space. I hated that word, Space, because it sounded calm. Calm made me look messy. Mila came in with her hair sticking up. She asked if we could make pancakes. I said yes too fast, like I was proving I was a good mother. Evan asked Mila about school and listened like he had all the time in the world. I watched him and felt annoyed. I told myself he was performing kindness to make me feel worse. I told myself he wanted to be seen as the good one. After Mila left with Evan, I checked my phone. I had no message from the stranger. I had one message from Nina asking if I was alive. I replied that I was fine and that I deserved a fun night. Nina sent laughing emojis and said I should not act guilty because guilt was how men control women. I liked that line. It gave me a reason. I copied it in my head like a quote. At work, I walked in like nothing happened. I put on a bright lipstick and smiled at the receptionist. I wanted to look normal, because normal was power. Marcus saw me at the coffee machine and asked if I went out. I said yes, and I said I needed it. He asked if Evan allowed it. I rolled my eyes and said Evan did not own me. Marcus laughed and said I was brave. I liked being called brave for something that was actually selfish. By noon, the story started forming in my mouth. I did not call it a lie. I called it my truth. I told Nina in a message that Evan had been distant for months and that I felt lonely. I told Kara the same thing on the phone. Kara asked if I was doing something stupid. I said no, and I asked why she always assumed I was the problem. Kara said she was only trying to protect me. I said I did not need protection, I needed support. She went quiet for a second, then said she would come by later. In the office break room, Nina joined me for a quick coffee because her job was nearby. She asked if I felt free last night. I said yes, and I said freedom felt like breathing. She asked if Evan noticed anything. I said Evan noticed everything, and that was the problem. I said he watched me like a security camera. Nina said that sounded toxic. I agreed, even though I was the one hiding things. It felt good to say the word toxic and put it on him. That afternoon, Evan called me once. I let it ring. Then he called again. I answered with a tired voice. He asked if we could talk after Milo went to bed. I said I had a client crisis and I could not handle another emotional meeting. He asked why every talk became a fight. I said because he never listened. He said he was listening right now. I said listening was not the same as trusting. He asked what he did to lose my trust. I said he made everything about control. He paused, then said he only wanted clarity. I told him clarity was a trap word people used when they wanted to blame you. When I hung up, I stared at my screen. I had a missed call from a number with no name, no caller ID. My skin tightened for a second. I told myself it was spam. Still, I did not delete it. I took a screenshot and saved it, but I told myself I did that for safety. I did not admit I was scared. After work, I met Kara at a small coffee shop near my building. She looked at me like she could see through my makeup. She asked if I went home last night. I said yes and said she was being dramatic. She asked if I was sure Evan believed that. I said Evan believed what he wanted. Kara said Evan was not dumb. I said he was not dumb, but he was predictable. I said he would sulk and then move on, because he hated public mess. Kara asked what I meant by public mess. I said Evan cared too much about appearances. When I got home, the house was too quiet. Mila was in her room colouring. Evan was in the hallway near a small cabinet we rarely used. I heard a faint click, like a drawer locking. He looked up and asked if I ate. I said yes. He asked if we could talk now. I said Mila was awake, and he should not stress me when I was trying to be a mother. He said he could wait. His voice stayed flat, not angry, not pleading. That calm again. I walked past him toward the bedroom and saw a folder on the counter. The label said utilities. Next to it was another folder that said bank. I stopped for 1 second, then kept walking like I did not care. In the bedroom, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Nina saying I should post something cute with Mila so people would see I was fine. I opened my social app and stared at the empty box where words go. I wanted to write something about strength and happiness. I wanted to shape the room before anyone else could. In the living room, Evan put Mila's backpack by the door, neat and ready. He did not look at me when he did it. I told myself he was giving me the silent treatment. I told myself he was trying to make me chase him. That night, after Mila finally slept, Evan stood at the bottom of the stairs. He asked if I could answer one simple question about last night. I said he was acting paranoid. He said he was not accusing me. He was asking. I said I had work stress and I needed rest, not interrogation. He nodded once, then walked toward the guest room without saying more. I stayed on the bed and listened to the door close softly down the hall. I told myself I won. I told myself I stayed in control. But my chest felt tight anyway, like control was slipping through my fingers in slow motion. 2 days later, Nina said we needed a reset night. She said my face looked tight and my mood was sharp. I told her she was wrong, but I still agreed to go out. That was how I worked. I argued first, then I did what I wanted. I told myself it was confidence. It was really a habit. We met at a rooftop bar downtown. The place had heat lamps, thin music, and people who loved being seen. Nina wore a shiny jacket and talked too loud on purpose. She asked if I told Evan the truth yet. I said there was no truth, only a moment that people could twist. Nina said I should stop acting guilty. I said I was not guilty. I was tired of being controlled. Nina nodded like she understood me better than my husband did. Marcus was there with 2 co-workers from my office. He waved and asked if I was free tonight. I said I was always free. He laughed and said Evan must hate that. I said Evan hated happiness. It came out too easily, like I had practiced it. I watched Marcus's face light up, and it fed me. When people believed my story, I felt safer. I posted a photo of the city lights. I did not post Evan. I wanted to look like a woman reclaiming her life, not a woman hiding. Nina asked if I wanted to make it clear I was not alone. I said no because I did not want proof, only vibes. She said vibes were enough to win online. I agreed. About an hour in, I saw Evan at the entrance. I did not expect him. My stomach dropped, then my pride rose to cover it. He walked in like he belonged there. He wore a plain button-down and clean shoes. He looked like he came from a different world, a world with rules and receipts. Nina noticed him and smiled like she smelled blood. She asked if I invited him. I said no, and I said he was following me now. That was a lie, but it fit my role. Evan approached our table. He did not shout. He greeted Nina and Marcus with a small nod. He asked if we could talk for 1 minute. I made a face like he was embarrassing me. I asked why he could not leave me alone for 1 night. He said he was not trying to ruin my night. He said Mila had asked for me at bedtime, and he thought I would want to know. I said Mila was fine and he was using her as a tool. Evan looked at me for a second, then said he would not argue in front of people. That sentence annoyed me more than anger would have. If he argued, I could say he was unstable. If he stayed calm, I looked like the unstable one. Nina leaned in and asked Evan why he was so intense. Evan said he was not intense, he was a father. Nina laughed and said fathers could still be fun. Evan said he did not come to be fun. He came to pass a message and then leave. I could feel eyes on us. People nearby pretended not to listen, but their heads tilted anyway. I wanted to win the room. I asked Evan, loud enough, if he came to check my phone like a guard. Evan said he did not want my phone. He wanted a clear answer to a simple question later, at home, in private. I said he always wanted simple questions, like it was a courtroom. Marcus raised his eyebrows, amused, like this was entertainment. I stood and smiled, the kind of smile that was sharp. I told Evan he was scaring people. I told him he needed to learn boundaries. Evan said he respected boundaries, and that was why he asked for 1 minute only. He repeated that Mila asked for me. He said he would tell Mila I was working late. I said yes, tell her that, because I was building my career while he built his feelings. Nina picked up her drink and said Evan should relax. She said he was lucky I still dealt with him. I watched Evan's face, waiting for a crack. He did not crack. He only looked at Nina and said he hoped she got home safe. Then he looked at me and asked if I would come home by midnight. I laughed like it was a joke. I said he was not my manager. Evan nodded once and said, "Okay." Before he turned away, I noticed his phone. The screen flashed for a second, and there was a small icon at the top, like a recording app or a voice note. I could not be sure. I told myself I was imagining it. Still, my skin went cold. Evan slid the phone into his pocket with care, like it mattered. When Evan left, Nina clapped softly and said I handled it well. Marcus said Evan seemed weirdly calm. I said that was his trick. I said he acted calm to look innocent. Nina asked if I wanted to post something about it. I said yes, but I needed the right angle. I typed a story caption about healing and setting boundaries. I did not name Evan, but anyone who knew us could guess. That was the point. The night kept moving, but I could not relax. I kept scanning the crowd, half expecting to see the stranger from the alley. I told myself it was silly, yet every time someone lifted a phone, I felt watched. Nina asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I said Evan just knew how to ruin a mood. Near closing time, I went down to the parking garage alone because I wanted quiet. The air smelled like concrete and old oil. My heels clicked like a timer. I found my car and reached for the handle, and then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned fast and saw Evan again, a few spaces away. He stopped at a respectful distance. He asked if I was safe to drive. I said yes, and I asked why he was still here. Evan said he did not want to scene upstairs. He said he only wanted to say one thing. I crossed my arms and told him to say it. Evan said he did not need a fight to learn the truth. He said people always left signs, even when they thought they hid them. I asked what signs. He said he would not debate it in a parking garage. He said he would talk when I was ready to answer directly. I felt heat rise in my face. I told him he was acting like a detective. Evan said he was acting like a husband who needed clarity. I told him he was paranoid and controlling. Evan said he heard me and he would not argue about labels. He said he hoped I got home safe, and then he walked away toward the stairwell. I stood there with my keys in my hand, listening to the door close. The garage went quiet again. My phone buzzed once. The notification showed a message from an unknown number, short and plain, like a fact someone dropped on a table. It said they had seen me behind the club and that my husband deserved the truth. The next day felt slower, like the air in our house got thick. I woke up before my alarm because my mind kept replaying that message from the unknown number. I told myself it was a jealous stranger trying to cause drama. I told myself it was not real proof, only words. Still, I kept checking my phone like it might bite me. Evan was already up. He stood by the counter with his laptop open. A spreadsheet was on the screen, full of columns and numbers. He looked at it the way he looked at everything lately, calm and focused. I asked what he was doing. He said he was organizing household costs. I laughed and said he finally found a hobby. He did not react. He only asked if I wanted coffee. I said yes, but then I added that coffee did not fix a cold marriage. He said he was not trying to fix anything with coffee. That answer made me angry. I told him he was acting like I did not matter. He asked what I wanted from him. I said I wanted him to stop acting like a robot. He asked if I wanted him to yell, because I seemed to be waiting for it. I said I was not waiting for yelling. I was waiting for care. He said care did not mean ignoring problems. Mila came in and asked if Dad could come to school pickup today. Evan said yes. Mila asked if I would come too. I said I would try. Evan looked at me like he was checking if I meant it. I hated that look. It made me feel like the unreliable one. At work, I pretended I was fine. I answered emails and smiled in meetings. But I kept thinking about the unknown number and the stranger behind the club. I also kept thinking about Evan's calm voice in the garage. He had sounded like a person who already decided something. That scared me more than a fight. During lunch, I called Nina and told her someone was trying to blackmail me. She asked who. I said I did not know, but it was proof that people were obsessed with me. Nina said it was because I was alive, and jealous people hated that. I liked how she made it about my power, not my choices. I asked if she told anyone about the alley. She said she would never. She asked if Evan was being weird. I said Evan was acting like a judge. Nina said I should flip it and make him look controlling. She said, if he acted cold, people would believe he was punishing me. I told her she was right. After work, I went to the school pickup line. I sat in my car and watched parents stare at their phones. The line moved like a tired snake. When Evan arrived, he parked behind me and walked up to my window instead of waiting in his own car. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and asked why he came over like a guard. He said he came over because Mila would be excited to see both of us. I said he was using Mila to look good. Evan said he was not using anyone. When Mila ran out, she grabbed Evan's hand first, then mine. Her hands were small and warm. She asked why we were both here. Evan said we wanted to pick her up together. Mila smiled and said she liked it. That smile should have made me soften. Instead, I felt annoyed because it made Evan look like the stable parent. We walked to the playground for a few minutes because Mila begged. She went to the swings. Evan pushed her gently. I stood near the bench and watched. Evan asked if we could talk later tonight. I said we could talk now, since he loved making schedules. He said this was not the right place. I said he always avoided real life by calling it the wrong place. Evan asked if I wanted Mila to hear us. I said Mila was playing and not listening. Evan said kids always listened, even when they played. That sentence landed in my chest. Mila looked over for a second, like she felt our tension. She asked if we were mad. I smiled fast and said no, we were just tired. Evan told Mila we loved her and we were okay. Mila nodded, but her eyes stayed serious. She asked why Dad slept in the other room. I felt my face heat up. Evan said sometimes adults needed space to think. Mila asked if space meant we were breaking. Evan said no one was breaking her, and we would always be her parents. He spoke carefully, like each word was a step on ice. On the way home, I tried to control the mood. I talked about Mila's school project and asked her about her favorite snack. I did it like a performance. I wanted Evan to see me as good and normal. At a red light, Evan's phone made a soft beep. It was not a ringtone. It sounded like a recording app starting or stopping. He did not look at me when it beeped. He just drove. At the supermarket, Mila sat in the cart and kicked her feet. Evan picked items off a list on his phone. He did not ask me what I wanted. That bothered me more than it should have. I asked if he was mad. He said he was not mad. He said he was focusing on what needed to be done. I said I was also doing what needed to be done. Evan asked what that was. I said, keeping the family together. He said, keeping a family together also meant honesty. I told him he was obsessed with honesty because he had nothing else to offer. At checkout, the clerk asked if we wanted to put the purchase on the usual card. Evan said no, and he handed over a different card. I stared at him. I asked what that was. He said it was a separate account for household basics. I asked if he was hiding money. He said he was organizing money. I said he was punishing me. Evan said he was protecting Mila's stability. I said, loudly, that he was acting like I was dangerous. A couple behind us looked at my face, then looked away. In the parking lot, I told Evan he was embarrassing me. He asked if I noticed how many times I said me instead of Mila. I said he was twisting words. Evan said he was not twisting anything. He said he was taking notes of what happened and when, because the truth needed structure. I laughed and asked if he was making a file about me. He did not answer right away. He opened the trunk and placed the bags in with care. Then he said he was doing what was proper for a father. That word, proper, stayed in my head as we drove home. In the kitchen, I saw the folders again. Utilities. Bank. There was also a new sticky note on the fridge that said, "Bring forms." I pretended not to see it. I told myself it was nothing. But my hand shook a little when I poured Mila's milk, and I hated myself for shaking. I wanted to feel in control. I wanted to feel right. Instead, I felt like the ground under my story was starting to crack. The weekend came with Denise's idea of a family dinner. She said we needed to sit like adults and stop being strange. She chose a family restaurant with long tables and bright lights. She said public places made people behave. I knew she also liked witnesses. She liked control too, just in a softer dress. I arrived with Mila and Evan a few minutes after Denise and Cara. Nina was there as well, because Denise said Nina was like family. Evan's parents came, Tom and Janice, and they looked serious before anyone even sat down. Mila climbed onto the bench and started coloring on the kids' menu. I told myself this was normal. I told myself I could steer the night. Denise asked Evan how work was. Evan said it was fine. Denise asked if he was still stressed. Evan said he was managing. Denise then turned to me and asked if I was okay, in the voice people used when they wanted you to talk. I said I was okay, but I said Evan had been cold and distant. I said he acted like I was a problem to solve. Evan looked at his water glass and did not respond. That silence irritated me. I wanted him to defend himself or accuse me. Either way, I would have something to hold up. I said he had started making weird money rules at the supermarket. Tom asked what I meant. I said Evan had a secret card now and he acted like I could not be trusted. Janice asked why he did it. I said because he wanted control. I said he liked power more than love. Evan finally spoke. He said he made a separate account for basic bills so Mila's needs stayed steady. Denise asked if I was wasting money. I laughed and said no, I just liked small joys. Nina nodded fast and said a woman deserved joy. Janice asked what joy meant. I said it meant not living like a robot. Cara tried to soften it. She asked Evan if he could be more warm. Evan said he could be respectful. He said warmth did not fix broken trust. Denise asked what trust had to do with it. Evan said it was private and he would not make a show. That made Nina roll her eyes. She said he was always so serious. Evan said he was serious about parenting. I felt the room slipping away from my script, so I pushed harder. I said Evan acted like a saint in public, but punished me at home. Tom asked what punishment looked like. I said sleeping in the guest room, ignoring me, looking through me. I said he made me feel like I was invisible. Evan asked if I wanted him to pretend everything was fine. I said I wanted him to stop acting like I was a criminal. Janice asked me, calm but sharp, if I had done something that would make him feel unsafe in the marriage. I said no. I said Evan was insecure. I said he hated that I had friends and a life. Nina added that Evan had control issues and always tried to keep me small. Denise nodded like she knew it was true. Evan did not raise his voice. He asked Nina not to speak for our marriage. Nina said she could speak because she saw how unhappy I was. Evan said she did not see our home at night. He said she saw stories and captions. Nina looked offended and said he was insulting me. Evan said he was stating facts. Mila looked up from her coloring and asked why everyone sounded mad. I smiled too fast and said nobody was mad. Evan told Mila the adults were talking about grown-up problems, and it was not her job to fix them. Mila asked if we were still going to the park tomorrow. Evan said yes. I said yes too, even though I was not sure. Mila went back to coloring, but her shoulders stayed tight. When food came, I tried to act normal. I cut Mila's food into small pieces. I asked Cara about her work. Cara answered, but she kept looking at Evan like she was waiting. Denise kept making little comments, about how a marriage needed romance, and she looked at Evan when she said it. Nina laughed and said men like Evan only understood consequences. That word landed wrong. Consequences sounded like something planned. Evan's face did not change, but his hand moved slowly to straighten his napkin. I watched the small movements and felt nervous. I told myself he was just neat. I told myself I was imagining danger because I wanted him to be the villain. After dinner, outside in the parking lot, Denise hugged me and told me not to let Evan bully me. She said I should stand tall. Nina said I should post about choosing myself. Cara whispered that I should be careful and stop pushing because Evan looked different. I asked what she meant. Kara said he looked like he was done talking. In the car, Evan drove with both hands on the wheel. Mila hummed softly in the back seat. I tried to start a fight in a quiet way. I told Evan he embarrassed me by acting like a judge. Evan said he did not talk much at all. I said his silence was the worst part because it made me feel crazy. Evan asked why I needed noise to feel real. I said I needed emotional safety. Evan said emotional safety also meant truth. At home, Mila went to brush her teeth. Evan carried her bag to her room and placed it on a chair. I followed him into the hallway and told him we needed to talk right now. Evan asked if this was for Mila or for my pride. I said it was for the marriage. Evan asked if I wanted to save it or just win it. I told him he was twisting everything. Evan said he was tired of circles. I stepped closer and said he was making me look bad to my family. Evan said I was doing that myself. I said he was cruel. Evan said he was calm. I said calm was cruel when someone was hurting. Evan paused, then asked me one simple question again about the club night. I said he was obsessed. I said nothing even happened. Evan watched me for a long moment, like he was placing a weight on my words. Then he spoke in a voice that was flat and final. He said he would handle it properly. He walked past me, opened a small cabinet in the hallway, and I heard a locked drawer click shut. The papers found me on a Tuesday morning in the office tower lobby, right under the bright cameras and the holiday decor. I was walking in with my badge in my hand, already planning what story I would post later to look strong. Then a man in a plain coat stepped into my path and asked if I was Ligeia Rowland. I said yes, and tried to smile like he was a fan. He said he had documents for me and asked me to confirm my name again. I said it again, louder, because people were already looking. He held out a thick packet and told me it was official service. I asked what it was. He said he could not explain it and that I should read it. I took it because my hands moved before my pride could. Behind him, Evan stood near the lobby plants, not close, not touching me, not doing a thing that could look aggressive. He looked clean and calm, like he had slept well. My stomach flipped. I asked him what this was. He said he was following a proper process. I said he was trying to punish me. He said he was trying to protect Mila and the truth. The receptionist watched with wide eyes. A security guard drifted nearer. My manager came out of the elevator and asked if everything was okay. I said my husband was being dramatic. Evan did not respond to that. He asked my manager, politely, if we could use a small meeting room for 2 minutes so I could read without a scene. Inside the glass room, I opened the first page and saw the words I did not think he would ever use. It was a divorce filing. Attached were temporary orders that started now. There was a schedule for Mila's pickups and drop-offs, written like a train timetable. There were rules about money, bills, and what accounts could be used. There was also a line about no harassment and no posts about him, his work, or Mila online. I laughed once and told him he could not control my voice. He said it was not about control, it was about boundaries set by the court process. He said he would communicate only about Mila and only in writing. He said he would follow the schedule exactly. I looked down again and saw, effective immediately, and my throat went dry.